Welcome back, College COD fanatics, as we're hopping in with Army versus Navy now. A brawl that I'm excited for, but not as excited as I am to be welcoming in Dan, the man, to the broadcast with me. I feel it. I like that. BTH shirt, repping the culture out here.
I'm a man of the culture, if anything. And let me tell you what, Colin, makes me happy watching my Mustangs absolutely put belt to behind in that first series. Love getting to watch that. As a Mainer myself, a little bit of heart swelling when I watch Maine esports get to fry out. So it's already been a great night here, College COD. And like you mentioned, I cannot wait for this next matchup we have here. Army versus Navy. It's a tale as old as time. It's going to continue here in Black Ops 6.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I mean, the first series was one of the quickest series I've probably ever commentated in Call of Duty. I don't expect this one to be the same as you kind of look above me at the records of both of these two teams. Army West Point 1 and 2. Haven't played their fourth match yet. It was rescheduled to a different date, so waiting for them to finish up with that one. But on the other side, for Navy, it has been quite the hardship for this team. 0-4 start to the season. Only map win they have is in Hardpoint, and a whole lot to look forward to. And when I was talking to them, you know, and they said straight away, look, there's room for improvement, and we're looking forward to the rest of the season because we hopefully want to get some footing in this league. And I think a win here could really show us what we really can accomplish when we put our mind to it.
No, I think you bring up a great point where when you are in sort of this 0-4 rut to kickstart it, right? We're very early on in the season. Getting a win like this underneath your belt against a team as formidable as Army West Point can be a real momentum builder when you're kind of looking at some of your matches going on forward. Easy to get put in that mental slump when you're looking at some of these records and you had to go through some of these maps, right? That when you're able to kind of maybe get some footing underneath you, gain some confidence as a team. We know for a lot of these squads that are coming here together, these are sort of some of their first matches that they're playing. They're still trying to figure out roles, how they want to play certain maps, things like that. Maybe you're kind of shuffling around your vetoes, still trying to figure out how you want to tackle these series. Being good, you know, the fact that they've won one map on Hardpoint does kind of bode well, because when we look at some of these best of 5 series, right, obviously you got that maps 1 and 4 being the Hardpoints, and then you have that Control being the 3, some very heavy respawn modes. Kind of bodes well that you have some decent sort of a road ahead of you to be able to come back on in and be able to take some maps off some of these teams.
And both of these two teams have been kind of riding that road so far. Things to work on for each team. And Army themselves have been going through some roster changes, trying to figure out where their roles are. And, you know, they've said to me themselves, Dan, that, you know, they think that they are 100% a dark horse going into playoffs once they get there. It's just getting there for them is where they're looking at making improvements for their team so they can try to strike through some of those teams when it does come into that postseason. But for this match in general, I mean, they said, hey, you know, they want to beat Navy. Like, that's one of their goals. Like, we bait Navy and then go test ourselves against some higher teams. So I don't know if that's trash talk coming out from Army, but I expect it to be some trash talk coming out from Army here. We can take a look at our maps for this series, Dan, and see exactly where it's going to be taking us for this best of 5. We got a skyline to break open this series. Hacienda map number 2, protocol guaranteed for the map 3. And if this goes to a 4-5, it's a double dose of Vault. How you feeling about the maps?
I'm feeling pretty okay. I feel like kicking it off of the skyline, that's really, obviously, we know it's really a barn burner that we like to say, right? It is just an absolute slugfest on the map, non-stop action from point to point to point. Then we move over to that Hacienda search and destroy, where I think you're really going to see your search and destroy skills really flourish. It's not kind of something like even like a skyline S&D where you can kind of just bang out a site, be able to take control and hold it on down. It requires some real strategy. So what I'm kind of looking at with both of these teams, right? If you're one of these more aggressive teams who feels good that you can play at that higher pace, you're loving this skyline, but then you have to maintain that aggression through this Hacienda and the protocol. 2 maps that we know you can go very wide on. You can bait a lot of teams on into it. You can really kind of lock it on in. So you want to make sure that if you are maybe with this more aggressive team, take this map number 1 skyline, because you're looking at that Vault Hardpoint. You're looking at the Vault S&D, 2 more mixier maps, I guess I would say, that we've kind of even seen over the last weekend. It's very easy to play aggressive and really push high tempo on these maps. You want to try and get to those maps 4 and 5. Whereas if you are a little bit slower, hey, try and take maybe one of these hard points away, because you should be feeling good on this map 2 and 3.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And both of these two teams have noted that Search and Destroy is their best game mode. So I think that Hacienda map number 2 is going to have a lot of implication on how this series does end up. But for Army, they say that their favorite thing to play is hard points. So, you know, coming into this one for a skyline, you know, being a little bit of a brawl where it's going to be mixing, you're looking at your subs to really take over. Usually teams do tend to run triple sub on a map like this for majority of those hills. it's going to be a fun one to open things up. And realistically, with the two teams that we have, how it doesn't get better than a Skyline Hardpoint to open this series up. It really does.
I mean, it's a nice heat check, I like to think, for both teams, right? When you have to play at that sort of elevated aggression, like you mentioned, you have to be able to pull out that third sub. Kind of becomes a real sort of test on, do you have a flex player on your team? A Skyline Hardpoint's a great way to sort of test these roles that we've seen, something we've seen from a lot of teams. If you're kind of a second AR player, maybe you're not main AR who's really just trying to anchor on up, really hold down those spawns, help you play those fundamentals. If that other AR player is not comfortable pulling out that Jackal, well, sometimes these maps, they get a little bit mixy, right? It can be really hard to try and play aggressive, where these squads who do have people who can run 3 subs, they're not feeling too bad on it. They say, all right, cool, we're going to be able just to absolutely run you down. And something like Skyline, I think, is really going to showcase that. So hopefully a couple of these teams, they've done their due diligence. They understand how to play these roles. But Colin, I'm excited either way for this map number 1.
You and I both, brother. And now we go into the Skyline Hardpoint. Teams loading into it. I love the kind of highlight there that you do have on if a team isn't really comfortable in running that triple AR or SMG setup. You gotta look to those ARs to really set tempo and set pace in this one, really control how those rotations do work out. But going to be a difficult one no matter which way you spin it for both of these two teams, which are looking for a little bit of a pick-me-up here in the start of their CCL season. Both negative records, 1-2 for Army, 0-4 for Navy. So this could be the start of something new for either side of the field.
Going to be all about what side is on which, and can you flip off this P1? That's something that we've seen become so absolutely crucial when you get ready to go from this P1 to P2. You want to be able to hold some of those spawns, and immediately off the break here, we're seeing a couple of these players already gaining some early time. Nothing too crazy right now, but it's been a lot of kills going towards Navy.
And Colo, 3-1 to start things off. A lot of pressure from the subs. Looking for the 4th as well into the hard point for the contest, but it's going to be cleared out by CS. Fatality now for the rotation through Kitchen. I like this from Navy, as they're going to have the less preferred spawns over for the P2 rotation. So Fatality's going to put some pressure here, see if they can flip things out, and already those 2 kills should be putting pressure on the spawns.
Ooh, Vengeance kind of throws a little bit of a shoulder there, up onto P2. Drops on down, playing the life well, but so far right now, it does look like a lot of Army West Point just kind of playing around here. I like this from Cold Thirsty. Kind of just looking around here, trying to sniff out who is around, and so far, looking pretty solid. We can see 2 members on up there, but it's going to be Obi down low on Piano. Will get found. 4 members all surrounding P2. Army West Point answering on the back. It's been a clutch P2 here, as they are just soaking so much of this time.
It's big break, and you shut down Vengeance, who's the closest one to really make a difference. Obi, chance for a break with the rest of the team just flooding through the front. It's a tight chokehold, and you can see how tough it is to get on through. 3 kills coming up for the Jackals. Vengeance going to be traded out. Everybody's spawning on the other side of the map for Navy.
I think if you're Navy right now, take a little bit of a heat check, understand where you are, start setting up for this P3, but it's gonna be number 1, Fatality, making their way on through. Can you find this maybe kill at all? It would be huge. Your head on a swivel here. Lost in no man's land. No idea where that is. That's 4 dead on the board. I was a little bit worried that maybe the Navy had pushed too far ahead, but no, it's 4 across the board. They've been able to maintain control on here, and they are setting up to hold this one on down. But it's Colo with an early elimination that might help them crack this one open. Bam Bam finds another, finds a 3rd. You've been able to break open the point, but it's not for long as Obi brings you on down.
That's Bam Bam Hua. And I saw for the last member of Army back in P2, I feel like that's a moment where you may have tapped out and you're looking at your second monitor. You don't know what's going on inside of that hard point, because Fatality just walks in, cleans you up, and some scrap time for Navy, where they've started to turn things around now. 20 seconds to pick up here. Split spawns for Army, a pinch possibly coming in, but instead it looks like Army West Point just going to chalk up that last couple seconds, look for the rotations over towards forward, see if you can set up in these back spawns, but it's going to be a tough one. You can see Obi trying to draw you out.
Navy answering a little bit back here on this P3 after letting a lot of that P2 go away. So great job to kind of keep themselves into this game. Less than a 10-point here. But already here in this bathroom, we're seeing Army West Point. They start to set up. They're holding this back side. You got Navy spawning on out to that other side, and it is just a line in the sand being drawn by Army West Point. if you are Navy here, you got to start working together. Obi with an early elimination. That's 2 down for Army West Point, but Cold Thirsty just holding the angle. Not going to let that happen. CCSJ, you're holding on in with the Jackal PDW, throwing that shoulder, finding another. Can you manage to hold this one on down? You can. It is a beautiful hold from Army West Point here to continue as they are marching across the 100-point line. A fantastic P4 for them.
P4 is the money hill, and that's where the separation is going to show for Army. It's a fantastic work to pick up those spawns. You soak up the majority time, and you're leading by double the points of Navy heading into the second set of rotations. So it was a tough P1, P2 for the start of this game for Navy Midshipmen. And they're going to have to keep that in their mind heading into the second set. You see the spawns at the back for Army. Already looking out for that. He's cut down towards the top of Catwalk, and some split spawns here for Army. So a lot to watch out for if you're Navy.
Wow. Navy doing a great job finding some of those reads. CZSJ tries to fly on forward, but it's just some great angles from Navy that will cut them on and down right now. 14-8 for Vengeance for the record. Obi with the 15-10. Absolutely going huge for their team right now. Your Army West Point, you need to pick it up a little bit. You got Colo, who's really having themselves a map, but it's pretty lackluster for the rest of the squad. Tighten it on up, be able to bring it back on through because, well, P1 goes to the majority of the Navy, but we know it's this P2 to P3 that we're really keeping our eyes on.
You think, you know, a couple members on Navy start to pick things up in the kill category, and this game gets a whole lot easier for Navy. Won a 9-11 fatality, 11-13. Just, you see them pick it up. This might be a swing for Navy that you've been looking for all game long, but sneaking in behind CSZJ, looking to do some damage. He's going to be cut down. All eyes forward for the Midshipmen. Looks like you're getting a little bit of a vent rush from Bam Bam. He's going to be in for time.
I like this. Bam Bam laid in wait, waiting for their time to strike, and you kind of saw a lot of the members from Navy push on forward, and with that, they're going to grab spawns off of this Colin. A fantastic job. Just a little bit of patience coming from one of your players will give you the spawns that you need to really start trying to milk this point. Vengeance trying to do work here on the P2, but it's not going to be enough. Up through the zip, though, it's going to be fatality. Colo is going to be able to answer on and back. Continuing to hold on in. Colo with a 4 elimination spree. Those are the type of things you love to see. We're getting ready to push on down here to this P3. Can you manage to hold the spawns? Can you set yourselves up from P3 to P4? That's what we're really going to be looking on in this rotation.
That's a tough one, too, because Navy did such a good job in P1 at limiting the amount of time that Army were doing. They cut that lead down to about 30, but Army blows it way back into a 60-70 point lead for them now into P3. This is where we saw Navy again cut that lead back in the first set of rotations. This time they're going to lose the initial gunfight, so the setup is there for Army, and they have the better spawns, at least for the start thing. Wanna is going to take the kills over towards grass. Navy's going to fight their way back, but can they get the read on these players hitting from the front?
Players in the front, 2 will fall. Cold Thirsty, are you gonna be the next one down? And no, you're gonna be able to make some of those trades. Obi in the back though, aims in hand, trying to lay down the law, but it's just not gonna be enough. I like the patience here. Back on up, manage to hold this one on down, but you have to stay alive. Bam Bam is putting those shots down range. Get the teammate come on over, maybe try and get this trade, and there it is. CZSJ trying to follow it up. Right now, I gotta be honest with you, Colin, it's the Colo show, baby. 29-16, going absolutely crazy. A big reason Army West Point has been able to grab this lead. But as I'm looking at the mini map though, Navy, they're setting themselves up perfectly to hold this P4. But as I say that, it is just a pinstripe kill feed to watch them all go down. Army West Point, they'll be able to hold this one on through. A great way for them to be able to hold down this point.
It's pinstripe until Bam Bam. Cold Thirsty inside. Big win onto Vengeance. 218. Doesn't look like you're going to be able to win on this hard point, so we're going to be going to a third set of rotations, surely. Navy, though, I'm sure they want to at least take some of this time away. The kill there from Bam Bam. Vengeance around the back. Can he find the second? He will. 3 down by hands of Vengeance himself. Fatality pulls the 4th kill as well. 228 for Army West Point. We're heading to the third set of rotations, and this is where they can look to put it away.
I feel like if you're Army West Point, definitely try and battle for this P1. You got the good spawns, though, so you don't have to get too aggressive. So one thing you have to make sure, you can see they're really poising themselves towards that top cat, really making sure that nobody's there. But CCSJ has been able to make their way onto the point, potentially only 10 seconds away. No, we'll get taken on up, but the flood is in. The bump comes in from Colo. Hopes to be able to hold this one on down. As they're 5 points away from being able to lock up map number 1 here. You got to make something happen if you are Navy. You've been able to stall it for now. I like where I'm seeing around the point, but the thing is, though, sure, you're able to hold down this 30 seconds. Can you stall these 4 seconds on P2?
Just takes one break, and here it is. Nobody inside that time. Kill from CSCJ. Wanna up top, trying to fend them off. He's gonna jump back down. Still, you see Army throwing themselves at this hill, knowing only 4 seconds to win things out. It splits them as well. Colo finds a kill. Gonna have to contest, but CS hops in. 2 seconds. Nobody there to touch it. Everybody on rotation from Navy, and the Army sneak away with the clutch on P1, 250 to 153. They put away the Skyline with a 100-point lead. And
it's this man on your screen right now, Colo, going absolutely insane. 36 and 22, a fantastic stat line. Just making P2 his home, putting the pistol to work. And it's plays like this all game long that I think really helped Army West Point sit there. As we look at some of the scores that are coming on in, I mean, realistically, Colo going huge. We also got to give a shout out to the rest of the team, because even though Colo's going massive, they're still doing their part. It's pretty even split hill time that's there. The team effort for them to be able to take that one on down.
It's the Colo Sholo in map number 1. I love that. He just absolutely put on for Army. And really, you know, I would say I expected that one to be a lot closer after the first set of rotations. Sure. I mean, Navy did such a good job at breaking P3, holding it down, at least limiting. I think at one point it was a 10-point game between Army and Navy heading into that first P4. But as soon as we saw that P4, we saw what Army can really accomplish when they get those early rotations. They have the setup for the money hill. It seemed almost impossible for Navy to break back in, and we can see in the graph that that is where they started to take flight in this series. It was 64 to 56 in that P3. You move into P4, they get a near full 60 on that hill.
Yeah.
And from then on, they just did not stop. The P2s were just pinpoint for this team. You can see in the first rotation and the second, they're getting so much time off of these big rotations, these big moments. And, you know, I said, you know, that P3 coming up in the second set of hills, that's where we needed to see Navy hit that early rotation, set up, and see if they can at least cut that lead down to maybe 30, 40 points, something manageable for a big rotation into that hill 4. But they lose the fights at the front. Army break in. They grow their lead again, another 40 seconds off of that rotation. And with what we saw off that P4, we knew it was Army's game from then on.
And I think that's sort of some of the mystery of Skyline sometimes, right? Because I think if you were just went by the eye test, if you were not watching sort of the score that was on top, that seemed like it was just a flurry of blows every single point and every single sort of matchup that we were seeing go on down. But it seemed like Army West Point was the one that was really always coming out on top in those engagements, which leads to some of those insane just soak times that we're seeing on that graph that's right there. So good work from Navy to kind of bring the fight to them. You just have to imagine that. I would like to see them maybe sort of hit some stuff together a little bit more, try and play trades a little bit, because, you know, okay, if you're making a realization that Colo's the one that's going huge on the team, figure out where they're playing, try to be able to shut them down, and you might be able to work as a squad to kind of push out the rest of the players there. But it was just Army West Point doing a fantastic job of locking on in, winning those trades, winning those engagements, and then soaking the rest of the time.
Well, hey, we had Vengeance finding triple kills here and there for Navy, and he was putting up quite the fight in a lot of those hills, getting mixy with the Jackal, but you're right, it just wasn't enough. And I feel like there was some supporting cast that was just missing from the Midshipmen that we need to see come alive heading into this map number 2. We got Hacienda Search and Destroy. We knew that Army West Point were a good hardpoint team. Their favorite mode is hardpoint. Favorite map is Hacienda. They get the Skyline. Hey, we knew that they were going to be solid on those rotations. But for Search and Destroy, both teams have noted that this is the mode that they excel most in. We haven't seen it yet on the season from Navy, though. They're 0-4 in Search and Destroy, 2-1 if you're Army. So going to this Hacienda Search and Destroy is going to have so many implications for Navy. You win this one, then hey, maybe you get that chance to push to a map 5, barring you show up in the control. But you lose this, and then Army West Point are knocking on the door of a potential 3-0.
Well, let's see. How does the search and destroy bake out for both of these teams? Starting to see some movement here over towards Rock. I like the teamwork I'm seeing from Army West Point, but CZSJ and Colo, you're going to get split and separated, taken on out. Vengeance, you're playing on in the back. You find one stairs, and it's going to be Cole Thirsty. Last one alive. Blink of an eye here on Army West Point. We are barely in to round number 1, and it's already put into a 1v4. Bomb's going to get planted at B. Thirsty, you'll find one up at the top, and it's almost a turn and burn for 2. But thankfully, Navy, do not let that one get out of them. You love to see the bounce back.
Hey, when you get rid of all the bells and whistles of manipulating spawns and worrying about which player is where, it's very straightforward gunfights for this Navy team. Vengeance, he turns up in the search, at least for this first round. 2 big kills there, closing the rounds and opening the rounds. And that's exactly what I want to see from the Midshipmen, is just trying to look very confident in these gunfights. I'm not saying that they weren't back in that hard point, but there's just a lot more variables that go into it in that first map. We don't have to worry about that now in map number 2. It's very straightforward. We see it there. Now Army have to answer back.
Anthem break off. Move over towards Rock from Army West Point. You're full stacking it right now. Cole Thirst is going to be able to open up. First blood onto Wanna. Fatality plank from the back. You find Bam Bam Ooh. Taking him on down. Rock will get placed for Fatality right now. You might be able to hit a little bit of an angle here, because you see Cold Thirsty on down to the back at the hands of Vengeance. 2 playing up top. You find one top mid. Can you make it a 2-piece? No, you can't. Fatality answers on back. Army West Point, you move as a unit. You get that bomb down, but it's the unfortunate post plant that just takes you on down. Fatality and Vengeance doing a great job working together, working from top, working from this outside to be able to take down all of Army West Point. Being able to clutch that one on up. 2-0 very early on here, Colin. I like to see the mental fortitude. I guess I'm not surprised to see it coming from our Navy folks here, but you love to see it in COD.
Yeah, you know, if there's anybody in Call of Duty, at least in the CCL, that should have some strong confidence, some strong mental fortitude, it's going to be Army and Navy. Let's be real. So coming out strong here. I mean, this Navy team, they told me that, you know, Army would love to win this one, but they got some surprises up their sleeve. And here it is. The search and destroy so far clinical on that retake through open. And now another potential swing towards B. Presence enclosed. Looks like they're going to try to draw for first blood. See if you can force some players over towards A. And hit that plant over towards B. But that bomb is going deep over towards the arches, and CS is about to get this information. He does one better. The first blood traded out. That's bomb down. You can already see those members from Army pushing down P4.
So quick rotations over from Army. But I like this quick thinking. We see Vengeance immediately makes that trade. You pick up the bomb. You're moving as a unit over towards B. Got player on back. Lambdo. Some great shots coming up from Bam Bam Hua. As you got one player who's by themselves made their way onto the rock.
That's the right
somehow
call.
Bam Bam has been able to escape here. So the plant isn't going to go down. No, it's just a free peek, a free shoulder. Bam Bam Hua? What are we doing here?
That's what we call the Bam Bam Hawk Tua.
Like, I'm watching a bunch of lemmings just jump at their death here one by one.
A triple. I mean, he was 0-2 going into this round, and just like that, I mean, you hand some individual fights over to this player, you have a feeling that he escaped into open, but you still go for the bomb plant. With that vulnerable state, you give up that kill, and ego chow back into him. It's just interesting plays there from Navy. However, you still have that lead, 2-1. And Army West Point, they finally get that round off on the board. Bam Bam goes huge. Now this team's going to look to go over towards B again with trophy systems this time. And see if they can get this bomb down for a post plant.
Fatality been finding a lot of success at this back heady. Trophy systems will stop that from coming on through. Bomb will go down. So I like this. A little bit of planning coming out from Army West Point. Off of that round. Fatality does have the car, though. This is Rocket League, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, it's not going to last for long as they're able to blow it on up. But it's a slow peek out. You're here on the rock. Cold Thirsty, though, answers back onto Obi. Wanna taking on out, but it's Vengeance surging on forward. Vengeance in the 1v3, playing alongside the Rock, and you manage to find one, but it's just not enough. I love the trades from Army West Point that are there. They clutch up in that last round. They realize how crucial it is to play as a unit, to play as a team. They make sure that when they get that bomb down, they are not allowing anybody to hit a wrap on them for free.
Yeah, and Navy just gives up a plant on B for free. No trophies down, no pressure onto the early hits, no presence in open either. They just give it up, hand it over, and a very passive defense leads to a solidified post plant, as I would have expected, with a player playing that deep on Lambo, that late into the post plant. I mean, it is just such an easy win there for Army to tie us back up. Now back onto the defense. The attackers heading over towards A. Cole Thirsty, the only one here to ward this one off. He's got to go big. He didn't see the planter.
No check on bomb. Just the immediate back on up.
This might work, though. You're playing a 4-on-4 for the retake. You have equal numbers.
Ooh.
You just need something to go your way.
Yeah, unfortunately for Bam Bam, you're playing down there, that bottom. You're trying to be able to make something happen, and you just get found out. Colo will have a little bit of information. Drops on down. Can you find this one? You can. That's a great one to have, but you catch the player on fences. I don't know if he was able to. You slide on out. That's a good two-piece from Colo. After fantastic map number 1, this is the guy you want to come alive, stop the bleeding, but time is starting to run out. You got a teammate that's on the bomb, but fatality is nearby here. I don't know if it matters. It does. Okay, Navy, they're able to clutch that one on up. I'd love to see what happened on that other side. It looked like it was a late pitch, be able to bring them on down. Vengeance doing a great job staying alive, stopping Colo.
9-2, might I add. Vengeance has had himself a game here on the Search and Destroy, and you know, that doesn't surprise me at all. He was the main slayer back on that Skyline hardpoint for Navy. You just allow his wings to spread now, and he is free as a bird here on the Hacienda. That really comes down to the time there, and the fact that it takes so long for that post plant or that retake to really unfold. Yeah, the kills were good for Colo, but you got those kills. There was 15 seconds left. I mean, you were panicking to find the last two, so this time we get a little bit of a plug over towards B. Some aggression coming up from Navy. Obi on his own. 2 players to worry about. They're going to look to disengage from this one. This could be a potential pivot over towards A now that Navy has given up the site.
It's these fast movements that I think I've loved to see out of Army West Point. They are not afraid to make some of these mid-round adjustments, and I feel like that's what I've seen lacking from Navy a little bit. We had that one round where they make a fantastic read to move from one bomb site to the other, but it all just fell apart when they kind of just filter in one-on-one. Army West Point, though, they're moving very deliberately as a team, as a unit, and more importantly, they're staying alive in some of these engagements. Fatality got some early shots on in, but you're not able to finish that kill, and just look at how they are poising on up. You'll be able to find one, but it's the immediate trade coming on through from Cole Thirsty. We'll hopefully let them play as a squad here. Obi, though, you catch one on the stairs, okay? You even the tides, it's a 2v2.
I want to spot the player in secret as well, looking for the trade. 1v1, 14 seconds, no idea where the last is, and Bam Bam, the element of surprise, should put it away free as a bird. Waits at his turn, and that's going to keep us even in the series so far. 3-3 we go, and we can see the final kill from Bam Bam, just how simple it was. He just takes a second. Yeah, that was him defusing, so get that going, and you called it perfectly. The plays through secret, the trades immediately coming out from Army off of that initial first blood over at B. They pivot back, they get that bomb down fast, and they have all of the surprise that they need to. You even had Cole Thirsty do one better, push up to office, make his presence known, and that just forces Navy to clear even more on their side of the map than they really wanted to with time against them. So Army do a great job at just keeping that pressure on.
Ooh, wanna. Some shots down here at the top. Get the wall bangs, but it's not going to be enough. Vengeance will fall very early on at the hands of Bam Bam. You can see starting to maybe waylay a little bit. Where do you start moving here? Fatality, you got the bomb. Playing around up here. I like this. Slow play this. You get the shoulder out. You find one. That's a good job. Able to bring them on down. And you get the turn and burn on the Colo. Fatality coming alive here in the Search and Destroy. It's a 3v1. Bam Bam has had a hell of a map, but this would be fantastic. Bomb's going to start going down at B. Bam Bam, got to start making some moves.
We saw 1v4s, 1v3s galore back in our first series. Bam Bam clearing out the office. Both players split, makes it a 1v1. 35 seconds, lots of time to hit the regen. There's no player right now you'd rather have in this situation than Bam Bam. Is the timing on his side? What? It is. Hops up, a free shot in the back onto Obi. And 22 seconds to get this defuse. Army, you look to someone to be the hero. Bam Bam says, hold it. Let me get this one on the board.
Navy have to be allergic to playing as a team. Like, just straight up. That's the second round we've seen where they are in a prime position playing as a squad, and then it's just they absolutely break apart and then allow a series of just 1v1s to happen. Where are of the trades? That's my question. Where are the trades in any of these rounds from Navy? It's heartbreaking to watch happen. Because on one hand, it's, you know, huge shout outs to Bam Bam for being able to make that happen. But by under no circumstance should he be allowed to take those fights for free.
No trades, no players really sticking together, and it costs you now. Lead to Army. We're going to buff it out to 2 now on the attack, and just look at how far CS has pushed up towards the plat side of the defender spawn. Vengeance is going to trade it, but the bomb is down. Everybody's spread across the map for Navy. And you're looking at Fatality, who is hitting the long flank to see if you can catch Bam Bam over towards Arches.
Just look how Army set on up here. They're ready for this push from Fatality. You got the crossfire set on up from the other two players. Bam Bam finds Fatality. That leaves your two other players to try and have to make something happen. Thankfully for you, Vengeance is going to be able to slide on out. Finds one. Obi finds Cold Thirsty. Can he manage to make this happen? And it's a team kill that comes on in. But more importantly, what you do have is finally some trades as a squad. You'll be able to make that one on happen. Vengeance, you get the bomb defuse. You tie this one up 4-4. I like seeing that signs of life after I just roasted them for not playing as a team. Exactly next round, you lock that up. You have to make sure that as a team, you know, Colin, they're having this conversation to like, yo, somebody get my trade, please.
And, you know, I really was worried when Bam Bam shut down the flank from Fatality, but you got Vengeance, who's 12-4. Might as well be 13-4. Add that team kill into it because it was necessary to get that trade. But ties us up 4-4. Vengeance, I said it, he's having a game right now. It's Vengeance versus Bam Bam. And you look at, you know, players who are struggling. You got to think, if one picks things up, if Colo picks things up, it could really swing things into either team's favor.
Colo having definitely a lackluster map here.
Oh, look at this. He's through. They have no idea.
You hear those shots. Be able to find him. You do. Vengeance. You've made some sort of wrap. You've opened up, and in this entirety of your map
going on though on your spawn, and Cole shuts down this bomb. So as soon as it happens,
oh my god,
bomb is down, and they have breached your side of the map. Everything's flipped.
He's a snake in the grass. Able to find them. Obi gets taken up by CZSJ. Thankfully, the trades are in. It is a 2v1 though. Wanna last one left alive. Can you get the bomb? Can you manage to get the plant? So far, we know Army West Point haven't really started seeing anything except for this. You see the shoulder come on out, and I love the back on up. It's the immediate fly on for it from Cold Thirsty, but you don't even need it. Does Army West Point take that round, putting us on map point here? This has just been back and forth all day long.
I think Hacienda has to be one of the worst maps to be in a 1v2 on, especially with the least amount of information you can imagine there. I mean, there's just so many corners to check. And in that situation in particular, he had to go for that slideshell, because if not, I mean, you have no idea where the second member of Army is. He could be anywhere ready to pounce on that at any given moment. But tough scenes for Navy after Vengeance gets gifted a full kind of breach through the middle of the map into the spawn of Army. Only pans out for 1 kill. Cole Thirsty really blows it all up. And now you're on your last legs here for Navy in the search and destroy. Hit to A, uncontested. Everybody at B now looking to flood a flank. And Wanna, stuck in office, just has to wait, see if he can find any kills.
You know, sometimes this retake onto this A site, you can make it work if you kind of full flood on through Lambo, right? Maybe you got somebody making some noise through top mid, but for Navy right now, you have one player kind of off on an island. You have 3 trying to play from the back, and this might actually be what's able to work. The CCSJ is taken on out, but look at Colo. Trigger discipline. You find one, that's great. Do you find another? You do! Colo's there! Cold Thirsty takes down Vengeance. Fatality in the 1v3. It's not going to be enough as Army West Point with a precise round able to put it away into a 6-4. Navy, a couple of blunders early on in the map lead to them being down maybe some rounds that they should have won. But Army West Point, they're able to clutch it on up. And Colo, after a fantastic map number 1, was looking a little bit of a snoozer here in map 2. But he's the exact person you need to help put this one away.
Yeah, I say it. I mean, it's either Wanna or Colo turns up, and Colo's the one to make it happen, puts it away for the team. And I think Navy are really kicking themselves for losing that one. I mean, twice in the map, you just go for a plant without fully clearing the site, giving your up all position you have on that attacking round. Last round in particular there, I mean, you gotta trade those on Colo. I mean, that second player, you had no business getting two-piece like that. And I think Colo just going big at that moment really sets a precedent for what Army are looking to bring in terms of individual skill for a game mode like Search and Destroy. Colo goes big in the big moments, and it swings things to Army's side for 2-0 lead. Let's look back at the history of this one, and man, oh man, was it a brawl. I mean, First Bloods, for the most part, mattered, but there was a couple rounds where, I mean, you lose the First Blood, you still win that round. I'm talking round number 2 there for Navy, where they take that defuse. Amazing retake. They came out strong, but you started to see as the game prolonged and as it kind of was starting to draw for Navy, they were making a lot of mistakes in terms of, you know, mainly going for some plants that you really should not have.
Yeah, I think it was just maybe a breakdown in communication. It's kind of what it feels like there. I'm thinking about that one time where they make this beautiful play call, right? To go from A over to B. You see them kind of rotate all the way back through Lambo. And you got one player back heading on Lambo, and it's Bam Bam, who's the only player on Rock, mind you. Kind of takes some of those shots, backs on up, and you'd expect like at least 2 players to push on forward. Let the guy on Lambo kind of push on up, maybe kind of turn around, hold the flank if he needs to. No, it's just kind of like a filter one by one. You got the bomb carrier flying on forward by themselves, and then you got the teammate pushing on like immediately after. And when that happens, the guy Lambo's like, all right, well, I guess I'll try and maybe come on out and make a trade of some kind. And it just kind of all falls to pieces. And that was sort of the moment right there where it felt like maybe there was some miscommunication happening amongst Navy. Now, we saw some rounds after that. They looked great as a squad, but it was just a couple of those blunders that I would like to see them clean it on up, especially as we get deeper on in, of course, to the league, because those are the type of things you just, quite frankly, can't have happen, especially when you're going against even some better teams.
Yeah, it's the small mistakes that rupture into big impact for the map. And for Army, I mean, they're taking that all day long. For Navy, you're 0-4 on the season. You're looking for a reverse sweep now to see if you can put your first win on that column. We're heading to the control up next, folks. We'll head to a break, get things set up. We'll see you soon with some more College COD. Welcome back, everybody, to College COD as we're looking at the series between Army versus Navy. Army leading 2-0 after what was a very clutch Hacienda Search and Destroy. We can take a look back at the maps here, Dan, and kind of recap what we've seen so far, because Hacienda, I mean, that was a close one. You thought Navy found their footing, found a rhythm to maybe steal a map away from this Army team, but, I mean, Bam Bam turns up, a couple 3 pieces there, shuts you down, and then Colo towards the end, finding just the right time, just the right 2-piece to win out and put it away for Army. And now heading into a protocol control, I hope these teams have been scrimming and practicing, because B-zone's changed. It's moved from the bottom open towards where Boat was up to where P2 is in Hardpoint. And it's supposed to be giving the attackers a little bit more of a presence inside of their hold to maybe either set up a spawn trap of their own, or at least give them a chance to win on these offensive sides. But even still, I mean, Protocol, one of the toughest maps to break these spawn traps that we see, and it's going to be a lot of work for Navy no matter what way you spin it.
Yeah, very interesting to see how this map goes ahead and calls on out, just because a couple of the reasons that you mentioned. One, we of course have this point changing, which does change the way this the dynamics of how this map plays just a little bit, but also just based on the play style, what we've seen from both of these teams. It was that bang out skyline that we really saw Army was doing a great job of making those trades, but then being favorable in those trades to allow them to take the objective. And then when it came down into that search and destroy, Navy had a lot of opportunity to put that map away. It was Army West Point, I think, realizing some of those mistakes and capitalizing on them. Those are two really sort of threads of a team that I like looking at when it comes to control. So we know that they have the slaying power. We know they have what it takes to sort of play a little bit of the mind games that sometimes control goes ahead and takes. So I'll be curious to see how does that shake out here in the protocol control. We get ready to hop right on into map number 3. It's going to be Fatality claiming first blood.
Fatality finds 2 as well inside Grandma's. So over towards A, they hop on. Cole Thirsty in trouble, has to hit the deck. Looking to stay alive, see if he can hold this presence, and he still finds the kill. So finally Cole's gonna go down, but Obi traded, Army restabilized, and no segments captured for Navy just yet.
Like this, want to making some ways over towards this helicopter side. Maybe trying to get something to happen, but it's Bam Bam here at the top, playing a little bit of a cheeky angle, trying to make sure they're not really able to move. But this spawn trap, it's a little bit too tight right now on the throats of Navy, as I like the positioning that we're seeing from Army. They're not giving them an opportunity to move on forward. And look at that. It's another 3 dead in the feed. It's a 7-kill lead right now for Army West Point, as we are down to the final 20 seconds here of this map in Army West Point. I mean, if the skyline was anything to show us, we knew how clutch they were at finding these eliminations, and they have come out swinging here in the protocol control.
Oh yeah, but Fatality's going to touch the zone. 12.8 seconds. Life differential by a landslide, and Cole's going to sneak away a kill. Obi, the only one pushed up alongside his teammate here to reinforce. So you're on your last legs right now if you're Navy, and here comes Army to see if they can kick them out from under you. Vengeance up top, one last rush, cut down from the side, 4 seconds. Somebody's got to get to the zone. Nobody gets there in time, and Army West Point, the spawn trap pays off, and the protocol blender, it lives on.
Now, 1 tick for Navy on that one. So if they somehow are able to hold Army to no ticks here, that would be fantastic. But something tells me that might be a little bit tough. Kind of felt like Navy got put in that spawn trap, Colin, and then just were not really able to find their way out in time. It's just really just how this map plays, right? Is if you get put in the spawn trap when you are on offense, it can just be so hard. You have to have some great communication, some great teamwork to make it on out of it. And it just was a little bit too little too late by the time I think they were able to start making some of those moves at the end of the round. We see them get onto the point. Great, you get that 1 tick, awesome. But it's just, you know, the second you get ripped off of it, there's no time left on the clock for you to try and make some of these plays again. So things they'll have to keep in the back of their head, but they're on defense now. It's Army West Point on offense. We're starting to see Bam Bam kind of play wide here, maybe hoping to catch somebody, not allowing themselves to be put into this trap this early.
Yeah, Bam Bam, 8 in a row. Make it 9 in a row. Hasn't died yet. Finally gonna be put down, and as Bam Bam finds his first death, Vengeance finds his first kill. So I talked about the search and destroy and how it was Bam Bam versus Vengeance. So that battle is surely one-sided now inside this control as we head over towards B. This is what I was talking about. The attackers get a little bit more of a chance to set up a spawn trap of their own now. You need Vengeance to go big on this flank. That second tick's getting worked on. He's got some help. Finds the kill Nicolo. You need to break this soon. The second segment already locked.
I like that you find one, but it's just the unfortunate matter that you're not able to kind of find anymore. But one it goes huge with a 2-piece that is there. So you rip them off the B point. You clear it down to at least 2 ticks. That's A-okay. It's easy as J kind of finding their way towards A, but I like this. Army West Point want to completely move on over towards this B side. Easy as J finds one, Colo finds another. Not going to allow that spawn trap to happen. These clutch kills could be what lets them on out. I love the shake on over here. It's a fast rotation over towards A. As so far, you got to just find number 4. That's Obi. He's been able to find his way inside of your building to find some of these eliminations. And there you go. Colo's going to be the one to pick it on up. And it is just eliminations that matter. 19-16 right now for Army West Point, as they are now at 4 ticks, looking to probably just try and take this round.
The stack is up, and you know, as we got so many esport programs inside colleges, we got to start teaching COD timing 101 because this thing is so hard to read. 15-3 for Colo, 5 in a row. You mentioned a couple of issues back in the search and destroy. It seems like those have been figured out. Vengeance, one last flank. Can he be the savior? Neutralizing the zone, trying to stay alive. 2 players to worry about him from above. CSZJ clears him away. The stack in on B. Everybody's here. The kills go through. And Army now looking to end this on protocol with 2 rounds up.
That was a very, very definitive offense win, I gotta say. They're up in the elims, and the one thing I want to note there, we saw at the last minute and Navy kind of trying to make these plays. They're hitting the angles, they're hitting some timings, but it's always just more than one player taking down those Navy players. It's about this thing we come back to what we saw in the Skyline. It's the ability to make trades that then convert into objective progress, and that is what we just saw there. They did a great job working themselves back forward from B and A, not just trying to slam one site over and over again. They broke out of that trap and they immediately realized they can make their way over to A. Some great stuff from Army West Point, but they got to be able to clutch it out on here on defense if they want. Otherwise, you might be giving Navy some signs of life.
Golo just looking to go right back into where he pitched a tent back in round 1 in the spawn of Navy. Couple players get through, and I will note there was a lot of chances for Navy back in that first round. It was really Cole Thirsty blowing it up over towards Sidewalk that put a wrench into that idea. Colo looking to be that player this time, and he's going to get 2 kills, putting Navy right back off the respawn, and all those efforts to try to flip this map snuffed away.
Fatality, though. Gonna be able to find CZSJ on the back, potentially a second. Golo up here. Where's the top? Got the eyes on him. They started to make some progress over towards A. It's gonna be 1 tick, but off the top rope, it's Golo. He'll be able to find Obi. Fatality goes down. Thankfully, 1 is there for the tray, but no Navy players nearby to try to help take down this A point. It's all movement over towards B. So yes, you've got the 1 tick, but maybe you can take B and kind of set yourself up for success. Get this extra time. You got 30 seconds on the clock here. You definitely want to be able to bring this one on down. You get the 1 tick, you're stacking it on up, you're about to hit yourself into the 2. Maybe this is exactly what you need, but it's a 2-piece from the Hellstorm of Bam Bam. Cole's gonna get a 3rd, but I believe that's a full 4 dead. Gets them off the point. Time starts ticking down.
Colo, though, he's not going to slow. 21-7. Cole now. 11-8. 12 seconds left. Last chance to make anything happen here for Navy. Midshipmen trying to get into a place to touch one of these zones. 4 seconds. Time going away. Everybody rushing towards A. Vengeance. A lot of attention over towards him. He's going to be cleared out. Stack on A. Can it prolong? Cole Thirsty. He's going to neutralize 1 player. Slides in for the contest. The team name kills. The kills are what matter. And Army, they clear the zone. They stop the time. And they finish this series in a 3-0 sweep in the control, as well as the series itself. So adding another win into that column, going 2-2 here in CCL. And Navy going to drop 0-5 off the opening 3 weeks.
Tough scenes if you are Navy. I mean, they looked very, very good in those first opening 2 maps, right? They were trying their best, but man, I can't say the same for this control. This was just a good old-fashioned choke slam. 14-4 from Bam Bam, 15-4 from Colo. CCSJ kicking the feet up, saying, hey, thanks for the carry, boys. We'll be able to see it. It just was a little bit too late, it felt like, in a lot of those rounds for Navy. There were signs of life, right, where they get on the point, they do everything they need to do, you'd win those key gunfights, and then it was just basically COD timing from 3 different angles that Army West Point was able to set up that kind of completely breaks open those points. A little bit of a heartbreak there, but I think if you're a Navy fan here in chat, definitely don't be too dejected, because that was definitely, while yes, a 3-0 on the map set that we can go ahead and see, guess what? I think it still bodes well. Navy showing some great signs of life against a great Army West Point team.
Yeah, you know, I'll say the same thing that I said about Temple when they lost earlier today. A lot of this can be fixed on some simple communication. You know, just talk about, you know, who's looking for what. Watch out for some players who sneak through into your base. Make sure you're keeping that note and clearing them in that protocol control. There were a couple players who just got lost and were able to make you pay on the zones and your attacks. They had some good breakoffs, but just the executes in terms of solidifying your holds were not really there. The Hacienda Search and Destroy, I mean, I see why this team says that they love Search because, you know, Vengeance was having himself a game, a couple players really helping out on that as well. There were some moments where I thought that Hacienda was going to go to Navy, but I think this Army team, if there's one thing that, you know, really stands out to them is that there are a lot of players on this team that can really turn up at any moment and take over. Bam Bam had himself a great series. Colo as well in the control. We saw Cole Thirsty really turning up. And I mean, I think CSZJ, you know, even, you know, in a quieter fashion was still making some pretty impactful plays on just a smaller note.
Yeah, I definitely think the thing that impressed me the most from Army West Point over that series really was their ability to play as a team. It was to be able to make these plays together. We saw that a lot in the Skyline, right? Where it was basically pinstripe kill feed. They're the ones last alive with those trades that allows them to convert some of these crucial moments like that P3 to P4, where when we saw the hardpoint graph, it was just a complete lead that they gained. They go into the second set of rotations and they just set themselves up beautifully to clutch at that map. In the S&D, they were doing a great job at making those mid-round adjustments. They were capitalizing on some of Navy's mistakes that were there. It was as a team, as a unit, that they were able to move around the map. And that control, I don't even know if it was a teamwork thing or it was just a, hey, we know we can outslay you, have fun type of thing. But either way, making those realizations is always fantastic. So congratulations, Army West Point. Like you said, going up 2-2, definitely feeling pretty solid at the start of their season.
Yeah, they are feeling solid indeed. And that's going to clear things up for a second match of the night, folks. We still got one more to go for Dandro and I. And when we come back, you're going to be watching one of the top 25 teams in CSP esports take on a living legend in terms of College COD, the Ottawa Braves. We'll see you soon with more College COD.